The chandeliers burned like fallen stars above the Lancaster ballroom. Clara Hayes moved through the crowd like a shadow, her black uniform blending into the background as champagne glasses clinked and diamonds glittered under the lights. She had learned long ago how to be invisible at these parties. Invisible was safe, until the wine spilled. Red liquid splashed across a woman's cream dress. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clara's hands shook as she stammered apologies, but laughter followed her retreat. Her face burned with shame as she pressed herself against the wall, wishing she could disappear into the marble. That was when she saw him watching her. Damian. Lancaster stood at the center of the ballroom, tall and commanding in his tailored suit, but his gray eyes held something she did not expect. Desperation. He crossed the floor in long strides. Guests parted like water. Clara's breath caught as he stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and sharp. "Please," he whispered, "pretend for me." Before she could ask what he meant, his hand slid around her waist. He pulled her close. The room fell silent. Then his lips were on hers. The kiss lasted 3 seconds. It felt like drowning. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Shocked voices rose in waves. Clara stood frozen, her mind empty except for the impossible reality of Damian Lancaster's mouth pressed against hers. When he pulled back, his eyes locked on hers. "Trust me," he whispered. She could not speak, could not breathe. Behind him, a beautiful woman in silver stood on the stage, her face twisted with fury. The crowd erupted into chaos. Who is she? Is that a waitress? Did he just kiss her? Damian kept his arm around Clara's shoulders, steady as stone. To everyone watching, it looked like a declaration, like he had chosen her. But Clara felt the tremor in his hand, hidden from view. He was as terrified as she was. "Come with me," he said quietly. He led her through the crowd. People stared, whispered, pointed. Clara's legs moved on instinct. Following this stranger who had just destroyed her life in front of hundreds of witnesses, they reached a quiet hallway. Damian released her and stepped back, running a hand through his dark hair. For the first time, he looked almost human. Almost vulnerable. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I needed an escape." Clara found her voice raw and shaking. "From what? From them? Die." He gestured toward the ballroom. "My family. They want me to marry someone I don't love. Announce it tonight." "I couldn't do it." "So you kissed a stranger?" Her voice cracked. "Do you know what you've done to me?" His jaw tightened. "Yes, and I will make it right." "How?" Tears burned her eyes. "Everyone saw. Everyone knows. My face will be in every paper tomorrow, I know." He met her gaze, unflinching. "That's why I need you to stay." Clara stared at him. "Stay. Be my girlfriend. Just for a few weeks. Long enough to kill the engagement for good." He stepped closer. "I'll pay you. Enough to change your life." Her heart pounded. "You're insane, maybe." A bitter smile crossed his lips. "But you need money. And I need someone who won't fall for the illusion of this world." She hated that he was right. The bills. The debt. The dream of art school she had buried years ago. It all rushed back. "How much?" she whispered. He named a number that made her dizzy. Clara closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's grave. Her empty apartment? The laughter that had followed her across the ballroom floor tonight. When she opened her eyes, Damian was watching her with an intensity that stole her breath. "One condition," she said. "When this ends, you let me disappear." He nodded once. "Deal." They shook hands. His grip was warm, steady, and in that moment, Clara Hayes made a choice that would haunt them both. Outside the hallway, cameras flashed. Voices shouted questions. The scandal had already begun, and there was no going back. The headlines screamed her name by morning. Clara woke to 100 missed calls and a photograph of herself plastered across every news site. In the image, her eyes were wide with shock, Damian's hand at her waist, their lips inches apart. The caption read, Mystery waitress steals billionaire from heiress. She stared at her phone until the screen blurred at work. The whispers started immediately. Colleagues who had never spoken to her now smirked and nudged each other as she passed. One called her a gold digger. Another said she must have planned it. Clara tried to explain, but her voice cracked and the laughter drowned her out. By noon, her manager called her into his office. The newspaper sat on his desk between them. Do you understand what you've done? His voice was cold. This hotel cannot afford scandal. I didn't do anything, Clara whispered. He kissed me. I didn't ask for it. It doesn't matter what you asked for. He tapped the photo. One more mistake and you're done. She left with tears burning her eyes and nowhere to run. That night, Damian appeared at her door. He wore jeans and a simple shirt, but he still looked like money. Like power. Like everything she was not. Pack a bag, he said. You're moving in with me. Clara stared. What? The press knows where you live. They'll camp outside until you crack. He stepped into her tiny apartment, his presence making the walls feel smaller. If we're doing this, we do it properly. You stay at my place. We're seen together. We make them believe it. I can't just leave my life, she protested. What life? His words were brutal, but true. They've already destroyed it. Let me give you a new one. She wanted to hate him. But he was right. The world outside her window was a storm she could not survive alone. 2 hours later, she stood in the penthouse overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble floors. Art that cost more than she would earn in 10 years. It felt like a prison made of glass. Damian showed her to a guest room. This is yours. Lock the door if you want. I won't bother you. Why are you doing this? She asked suddenly. Really? He turned, his gray eyes shadowed. Because my family decided my life for me before I was born? Every choice, every step. I'm tired of being their puppet, and I'm your rebellion. You're my freedom, he paused. Even if it's just pretend. The word hung between them. Pretend. But something in his voice made it sound like a lie. Over the next week, they played their parts. Damian took her to restaurants where cameras waited. He held her hand in public, his touch careful but convincing. At night, they returned to the penthouse and lived like strangers sharing space. But cracks began to show. One evening, Clara found him on the balcony, staring at the city lights. She brought him coffee without asking. He took it, surprised. You don't have to do that, he said. I know. She leaned against the railing. But you look like you need it. For the first time, he smiled. Really smiled. It softened the sharp edges of his face. Tell me about your mother, he said quietly. The question caught her off guard. Why? Because you never talk about yourself. Only what you've lost. Clara looked away. She died when I was 17. Cancer. We couldn't afford the treatment. His jaw tightened. I'm sorry, don't be. Her voice was hollow. Rich people say sorry all the time. It doesn't bring anyone back. The silence stretched. Then Damian spoke, his voice low and raw. I had a brother. Older, he was supposed to take over the company. He stared at his hands. He killed himself when I was 20. Too much pressure. Too many expectations? I found him. Claire's breath caught. Damian. They never talked about it. Just moved forward. Put it all on me instead. His laugh was bitter. So yes, Clara, I know what it's like to lose someone and pretend you're fine. She reached for his hand without thinking. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady in that moment. Pretend felt dangerously real. But across the city, Evelyn Montgomery sat in her penthouse, watching the same news coverage on repeat. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into the armrest as she watched Damian smile at that waitress. At that nobody, she picked up her phone and dialed. I need you to find everything on Clara Hayes, she said softly. Every mistake, every secret, every weakness, and then... Evelyn's smile was cold. Then we destroy her. 3 weeks into the arrangement, the line between pretend and real began to blur. Clara woke one morning to find Damian in the kitchen making coffee. He had rolled up his sleeves, his hair still damp from the shower. When he saw her, He poured a second cup without asking how she took it. He already knew. "Sleep well?" he asked. She nodded, accepting the mug. He had remembered. No sugar, extra cream. It was a small thing, but it made her chest ache. They had fallen into a rhythm. Breakfast together. Public appearances where his hand found the small of her back naturally now. Evenings where they talked on the balcony until the city lights blurred into stars. He told her about the weight of his name. She told him about the art she used to draw. Slowly, carefully. They were becoming something neither had planned, but the world outside grew darker. The press turned vicious. Articles dissected Clara's past. They printed her mother's medical bills, her eviction notices, her student loans. They called her an opportunist, a social climber, a girl using a billionaire's grief to escape poverty. Strangers sent hate messages. Death threats appeared in her email. One morning, someone spray-painted gold digger across the penthouse building entrance. Clara stood in front of it, trembling. Damian found her there, her face pale. "Hey," he pulled her into his arms. "Don't look at it." "How can I not?" Her voice broke. "They hate me. They don't even know me, and they hate me. They're afraid," he said quietly. "Afraid that someone like you could belong in my world. Because if you can, it means their hierarchy is a lie." She pulled back, searching his face. "Do I belong?" His thumb brushed her cheek. "You're the only real thing in my life right now." The air between them shifted. Charged, dangerous Damian. Her whisper was a warning. "I know," but he didn't step away. This wasn't supposed to happen. What wasn't? This, his hand slid into her hair. "You," he kissed her then. But this time, there were no cameras. No audience. Just the two of them in the early morning light, breaking every rule they had set. When they finally pulled apart, Clara's hands were shaking. "We can't," she whispered. "I know." His forehead pressed against hers. "But tell me you don't feel it too?" She couldn't, 'cause she did. God help her, she did. That night, they attended a charity dinner. Damian's family would be there. The first time Clara would face them directly. The Lancaster matriarch was ice in diamonds. Her gaze swept over Clara with barely concealed disgust. "So you're the girl causing all this trouble?" she said. Clara lifted her chin. "I'm the girl your son chose." Damian's hand tightened on hers. Approval flickered in his eyes. But his father was worse. He cornered Damian in the hallway, his voice low and venomous. "And this farce, now, before you destroy everything we've built." "No," Damian's voice was steel. "She's using you. Can't you see that? The only people using me are standing in this room." Damian stepped closer. "I'm done being your pawn." His father's face reddened. "If you continue this, I'll cut you off. The company, your inheritance, everything. Then do it." Damian's smile was cold. "I'll build my own empire. Without you." Clara watched from the doorway, her heart racing. He was risking everything. For her, for them, for a relationship that had started as a lie. Later, in the car, she turned to him. "You shouldn't have done that." "Why not?" "Because I'm not worth it," her voice cracked. "I'm nobody, and you're throwing away your entire life." Damian pulled the car over, turned to face her. His eyes burned with something fierce and terrifying. "You're not nobody to me." His hand cupped her face. "You're the first person who's ever seen me. Not my money. Not my name. Me." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "This is going to end badly. Maybe." He kissed her forehead. "But right now, I don't care." They went home that night and crossed the line they had been dancing around for weeks. In his bed with the city glittering below, they stopped pretending, stopped lying, stopped being careful, and for one perfect night, they were just two broken people finding something whole. But the next morning, everything shattered. Clara woke to Damian's phone buzzing incessantly. He grabbed it, his face going pale as he read. "What is it?" she asked. He handed her the phone without speaking. The headline made her blood run cold. Exclusive. Clara Hayes' secret revealed. Billionaire's girlfriend? has criminal record. Below was a mugshot. Clara at 19, desperate and scared. The article detailed her arrest for shoplifting food when her mother was dying. Charges that had been dropped. A mistake made in desperation that she had buried and tried to forget. But Evelyn Montgomery had found it. And now the world knew. Clara. Damian reached for her. She jerked away, her eyes wild. You need to end this, now. What? No, look at that headline. She was shaken. I'm destroying you. Your reputation. Your family. Everything. I don't care about any of that.
Well, I do.
She grabbed her bag, stuffing clothes inside. This was always going to end. We both knew it. Don't do this. His voice broke. Please. She stopped at the door, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. But you were right from the beginning. I don't belong in your world, Clara. Wait. But she was already gone, and Damian stood alone in the penthouse. Watching the only real thing in his life walk away, Clara disappeared into the only place she knew. Back to her old apartment? Back to the shadows. But the world would not let her hide. Reporters camped outside her building. Her phone exploded with messages. Some pitying. Most cruel. The mugshot had gone viral. Every news outlet dissected her past, painting her as exactly what she feared, a criminal who had seduced a billionaire. She sat on her floor, knees pulled to her chest, and let the numbness take over. 3 days passed. Then the knock came. Clara opened the door to find Evelyn Montgomery standing in the hallway. Perfect hair. Designer clothes. A smile that cut like glass. May I come in? Every instinct screamed no. But Clara stepped aside. Evelyn walked through the apartment, her gaze sweeping over the peeling paint and secondhand furniture with barely concealed disgust. I'll get to the point, she said. I want you gone. Permanently. Clara's laugh was hollow. I already left. Not far enough. Evelyn pulled out her phone, scrolling to a photo. This is Damian yesterday. Refusing to eat. Refusing meetings. Destroying himself over you. The image showed Damian on his balcony, his face haggard. Clara's heart clenched. That's not my fault, she whispered. Isn't it? Evelyn stepped closer. You knew what you were doing. Playing the innocent. Making him believe you were different. I never asked for any of this. And yet you took his money. Lived in his home. Shared his bed. Evelyn's smile was poison. How convenient that you suddenly grew a conscience after the truth came out. Clara's hand shook. Get out. I'll leave. But first, let me make you an offer. Evelyn placed an envelope on the table. Inside is a check. Enough money to start over. Anywhere you want. New city, new name. Disappear and never contact Damian again. Clara stared at the envelope. He'd never forgive you for this. He doesn't need to know. Evelyn's voice softened, almost kind. Look at yourself, Clara. You're drowning. The press will never stop. The hate will never end. Is that really love? Watching him destroy his life for you? Tears burned Clara's eyes because Evelyn was right. Every headline, every threat, every cruel word was because of her. Take the money, Evelyn urged. Set him free. Let him go back to his world, where he belongs. Clara's hand hovered over the envelope. Inside was everything she had ever wanted. Freedom, safety, a chance to breathe. He'll hate me, she whispered. Better he hates you than watches you suffer. Evelyn moved toward the door. You have 24 hours. After that, I release everything else I found. And trust me, there's more. The door closed. Clara stared at the envelope for hours. Finally, with trembling hands, she opened it. The check was for $2 million. She thought of her mother. The bills that had crushed them. The dreams she had buried. The life she could finally have. And she thought of Damian. His smile. His touch. The way he looked at her like she was worth everything. The choice tore her apart. But that night, she made it. She packed her bag. Wrote a note. 3 words, I'm sorry. Forgive me? And she cashed the check by morning. Clara Hayes was gone. Damian found the note 2 days later when he finally broke into her apartment. He stood in the empty space, the paper crumpling in his fist, and something inside him shattered. He had given her everything. His trust, his heart, his defiance of the world, and she had taken Evelyn's money, vanished. He called her phone, disconnected, searched every database his money could access. She had disappeared like smoke. The betrayal cut deeper than any he had known. Because he had let himself believe, let himself hope. That night, he stood on his balcony and made a decision. If Clara wanted to disappear, fine. But he would not forgive her for it. He called his father. "I'll marry Evelyn," he said, his voice dead. "Announce it whenever you want." His father's triumph was audible. "You're making the right choice." But Damian felt nothing. Just a cold, hollow space where his heart used to be. The engagement was announced 3 days later. Evelyn stood beside him at the press conference, radiant with victory. Damian smiled for the cameras, his hand in hers, and felt nothing. He had been right all along. Love was just another cage. But across the country, in a small apartment in a city where no one knew her name, Clara watched the broadcast and broke. Because the check sat uncashed on her table. She had packed her bag, written the note, held the money in her hands, but she could not do it. Instead, she'd run without taking a cent. Run to protect him from herself, from the scandal that would never end, and now he thought she had. Betrayed him for money. Clara pressed her hand to the screen, watching Damian's empty eyes, and whispered the truth he would never hear. That's why I left. But he was already gone, and the lie Evelyn had planted would destroy them both. The wedding was set for spring. 6 months away? 6 months of Damian going through the motions, his soul somewhere else entirely. Evelyn played her part perfectly. Loving fiancé in public. Cold strategist in private. She had one. Clara was gone. Damian was hers. But she had made one mistake. She had underestimated how much Damian's assistant, Marcus, had cared about his boss's brief glimpse of happiness. Marcus had watched Damian become a ghost, watched the light die in his eyes, and he had started asking questions. It took him 3 months to find the truth. He found the bank records, showing Evelyn had withdrawn $2 million in cash. Found the private investigator she had hired to dig up Clara's past. Found the security footage from Clara's building showing Evelyn's visit, and he found one more thing. The uncashed check. Still sitting in Clara's abandoned apartment, gathering dust, Marcus brought everything to Damian on a cold winter morning. "You need to see this," he said. Damian looked up from his desk, exhausted. "Unless it's about the merger, I don't care. It's about Clara." The name hit like a bullet. Damian went still. Marcus laid out the evidence. Every piece. Every lie. "She never took the money," Marcus said quietly. "Evelyn lied. Clara ran to protect you, not to cash out." Damian's hands shook as he picked up the photograph of the uncashed check. $2 million. Enough to change her life forever. She had walked away from it. From him. Because she loved him, and he had believed the worst. "Where is she?" His voice was raw. "I don't know." Koss hesitated. "But I can find her. Do it." Damian stood, something fierce burning in his chest again. Now, it took Marcus 2 weeks. He found her in Portland, working at a small coffee shop, living in a studio apartment, painting again, surviving, alone. Damian caught the first flight out. He found her on a rainy afternoon. She stood behind the counter, her hair pulled back, dark circles under her eyes. But she was still beautiful, still her. When she looked up and saw him, the coffee cup slipped from her hand, shattered on the floor. Damian. His name broke on her lips. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides. Customers stared, whispered he did not care. "Why didn't you take the money?" His voice shook, tears spilled down her cheeks. "Because it wasn't about money. It was never about money." "Then why did you leave?" "Because I was destroying you." Her hands fisted in his shirt. Every day I stayed, you lost more. Your family, your company, your peace. I couldn't watch you burn for me, so you thought abandoning me was better. His laugh was bitter. Do you have any idea what these months have been like? I saw the engagement announcement. She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. You moved on. You're marrying Evelyn. It's what was supposed to happen. I'm not marrying anyone. He caught her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. I was dead inside, Clara, going through motions. Punishing myself for believing you had betrayed me. I would never betray you. I know that now. His thumb brushed away her tears. Marcus found the check. Found everything Evelyn did, she lied. Manipulated us both. Clara's breath caught. She told me you'd destroy yourself for me. That the only way to save you was to disappear. The only thing destroying me was losing you. His forehead pressed against hers. I don't care about the money, the company, any of it. I just want you. Your family will never accept me, and I'll leave them behind. His voice was steel. I've spent my whole life letting others decide my fate. Not anymore, Damian. She was crying now. I'm still that waitress. Still nobody. You're everything. He kissed her softly, desperately. You're the only person who ever saw past the fortune to the man underneath. The only one who made me feel alive. She melted into him, her hands sliding into his hair, kissing him back with everything she had buried for months. When they finally pulled apart, the coffee shop had gone silent. Every customer watched with wide eyes. Damian turned to them. She's the love of my life, he announced to the room. In case anyone was wondering, laughter rippled through the space. Clara buried her face in his chest, half mortified, half elated. What about Evelyn? She whispered. I ended it the moment I saw that check. He pulled out his phone, showing her the headlines. Lancaster heir calls off engagement. Damian Lancaster exposes Evelyn Montgomery's manipulation. Clara's eyes widened. You went public? I told the truth. All of it. Her lies. Her schemes. The way she tried to destroy us. His smile was grim. She won't manipulate anyone else. Your family cut me off completely, he shrugged. I started my own company last week. Smaller mine. And I'm building it without their name. Clara stared at him. You gave up everything. No. He pulled her close. I gave up nothing and gained everything. She looked up at him, this man who had walked away from billions to find her in a coffee shop 3,000 miles from home. I love you, she whispered. I should have said it before. I love you, I know. He kissed her again. I've known since the night on the balcony. When you brought me coffee and asked about my brother, that's when I knew. Knew what? That you were mine, and I was yours, no matter what came next. Clara smiled through her tears. So what comes next? Damian looked around the coffee shop. At her apron? Her paint-stained hands? The life she had built from nothing? We start over, he said. Together. No pretending. No lies. Just us. Us, she repeated. I like the sound of that. He took her hand. Come with me. Not to a penthouse. Not to a mansion. Just wherever we decide to go. She thought of the money she had walked away from. The world that had tried to break her. The scandal that had branded her. And she thought of this man. Who had risked everything. Who had found her when she tried to disappear. Who loved her not despite who she was, but because of it. Okay, she said. Let's go. They walked out of the coffee shop hand in hand into the rain. Cameras found them eventually. The press would talk. The world would judge. But for the first time in their lives, neither of them cared. Because some love stories do not start with a fairy tale. They start with a desperate kiss, a fake arrangement, a scandal that tears everything apart, and they end with two broken people choosing each other. Again and again. Despite the odds, Clara Hayes and Damian Lancaster would face more battles, more judgment. More people who said they did not belong together, but they had learned the most important truth of all. Love was not about belonging to a world. It was about building your own together. The end.